welcome to a very special edition of the Line of Vienna Suite podcast. We're coming to you from the miserable looking Sydney here. Will Jones is normally your host, but tonight you've got Eddie Skilly coming from Sydney. He'll be back soon with a proper podcast. He's got some technical issues at the minute, so he'll be back soon. But I'm joined tonight by a very special guest, Mr. Adam Le Fondre. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on. Right, how have you been? It's been 6 weeks since you've moved to Sydney. How's the move been so far?
Yeah, it's been really good. Last week or so has been quite stressful. Obviously, IKEA's not really open when you have to flat pack everything. We just got in the house, got 3 kids running around, going mental. But it's life. You just got to get on with it. Football's come quite easily really after the first, say, 3 or 4 days of training. We're getting used to it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The weather's not been great, but today anyway.
So we'll start with your first 2 games for Sydney. You've got off to probably the best start you could. You've got to the final of the FFA Cup and you've scored in both games. How have you found the cup game so far?
Yeah, the Avondale one was a strange one really. The pitch wasn't great. It was a little bit too hard for my liking and a few of the boys' likings. But that's what you get in. Obviously the MPL over here is like the teams underneath the A League, and their pitch wasn't great. We played really well the first half, took the lead, and then we took the foot off the gas. And fair credit to them, they came back into the game and came back strong, and we were holding on really. And then we got to extra time, and then our class started to show. And obviously got the 2 late goals which finished the game. And it was good for me to get the 120 minutes in my legs because I was getting cramp everywhere even in that game. So it was good. And then obviously the derby was just another great occasion. The fans were good, the atmosphere was brilliant. And we asserted our strength over them. First half we didn't play great. We admitted that, and we come out second half and dominated the game and obviously got the chances and scored the goals.
You've obviously got such a good relationship with the Wanderers fans, but how has it been so far with the Cove, as they're called, the Sydney fans?
Yeah, it's been good. On Twitter especially, they've been really supportive of me. Obviously getting behind the sausage roll wagon, and it's going well. Obviously, I've always said if you're a goal scorer, the fans tend to like you. Obviously, I have to stop calling me a wanderer now because that's obviously
it's their rivals. Yeah,
it's the hated rival, so to speak.
So let's just take it back now to the start of your Bolton adventure in January 2015. You were out of the Cardiff team, you weren't really playing, and then you got the move up to the northwest because you wanted to be closer to your family. How was that time for you, joining Bolton?
Unbelievable. For me, it was a real springboard, I thought, for me to sort of get my career back on track. I remember it was between Huddersfield and Bolton who I went to. I spoke to Chris Powell and Lennon at the time, and I spoke to Chris Powell, liked what he said, and then after that I spoke to Lennon, and as you can imagine, he wasn't holding back what he was saying. He was just like, look, effing and jeffing, but you're a Christmas present come early. I've been trying to sign you for years when he was at Celtic, and now I've got a chance to get you at Bolton. Don't go anywhere else, you're going to play every week, come here. So ultimately the passion I could hear in his voice made me want to go and join Bolton, and obviously with the tradition of Bolton, such a big club they are, then it's a no-brainer really for me.
So you joined a team full of experience, shall we say, at the time, Ardiger Johnson, Emil Heskey, and obviously you had Zach Clough up and coming. How did you find playing with them at that time? Yeah,
it was good. Emil surprised me. He was really good, still really athletic. I still remember the Brentford game where he dominated the 2 centre halves, and me and him run riot really, and we probably should have won that game. Ida still had that touch of class as well. You can still see a pass, and obviously you can still finish as well. So it was nice to play with players like that. And Cloughie, I hold Cloughie in a very high regard because he's a top talent. I think he just needs a bit of loving and caring, and I think you've got a brilliant player there. When I think you've seen that when me and him played up front together, we caused mayhem together, and sort of unfortunate not to do that the second time round.
Yeah, especially in that Watford game, even though we lost it 4-3, you two were just on fire that day, and you just seemed to click.
Yeah, I always think back about that game. I should have scored about 6. Yeah. I think I should have scored about 6. Cloughie could have had about 5. It could have been one of them games where it literally could have been about 11-all by the end of it because it was such an open game, and to lose it in the last minute, as you can imagine, Neil Lennon weren't happy.
But it just seems kind of the wheels fell off at the wrong time. It seems that you two had that partnership and everything was going right, and then just behind the scenes of the money, it just didn't work, and obviously you couldn't come back at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, it was a strange situation really, because obviously I was desperate to stay, and obviously the gaffer at the time was desperate for me to stay because obviously what I'd just done. So we played Birmingham, obviously last game of the season, went in and spoke to him straight after the game, said, look, I don't want to go anywhere else, sign me up now, like literally, like let's sort out next season now. And he said, right, I'll be on the phone to your agent. A week went by, 2 weeks went by, 3 weeks went by, got into pre-season, obviously I was back down in Cardiff, and I was just like, don't want to be here. Cardiff wanted me to stay. I said, no, it's not for me. I'd rather be at Bolton where I'm playing week in, week out, scoring goals, enjoying it, and back with my family. And obviously Neil Lennon at the time was saying, yeah, we can do that. We just, Gartside obviously was not facilitating that. He was bringing in other players. So obviously as it got closer to the season, it became a point where, do I get left and rotted in Cardiff, or do I have to go somewhere else? And obviously I kept having conversations with Neil Lennon saying, look, I'd like to come, but you have to do something soon, because otherwise I can't waste a year. And he was like, obviously I'm desperate for you to come in. I've left number 9 free for you. That's obviously why number 9 never went that season, because obviously they were hoping to get me. And I was like, yeah, brilliant, just get it done sort of thing. And then I think we come to August, and then Wolves and Sheff Wednesday came in, and I met Wolves and said, you know what, yeah, I fancy this. What they said to me was good, and maybe not as brilliant as Bolton, but I needed to think obviously a little bit outside the box, because obviously I couldn't wait all day and all night for a Bolton offer to come in. So obviously when it came down to it, I just said, right, I said to Neil Lennon, I said, look, you have to put something in today, or I'm going Wolves tomorrow. And ultimately that was it. Went to Wolves and had a torrid time really. A lot of broken promises there, and I was really unhappy really, because I just never played. I think I played 3 games in a row and a load of sub appearances, and for me, I didn't need that. I didn't want that. I just scored 8 in 15 or 16 consecutive starts, and I was just proving that I'm more than good enough for the Championship, and to go and waste another year on the bench was really detrimental to me, because obviously my next move was Wigan. Yeah. So I was looking at shooting back up, and unfortunately it didn't quite transpire like that, and ended up getting in a rut really.
And so at the same time your career stagnated, Bolton had that dip in, and got relegated obviously, and 18 months after you left, you finally were able to come back after much persistence from the fans on Twitter, and obviously the GoFundMe when they tried to buy you back, which is quite funny. But you must have been delighted to finally get that move back in 2017.
Yeah, I just knew I was going to do well. I've always had that feeling with Bolton, and obviously after my first spell, I just thought, whatever I do there, I'll always do well, no matter what. And I did. I come back obviously. I come back and I wasn't quite as fit as I needed to be, because obviously I've not really played any games at Wigan, not really played any under 23 games, weren't great standard, so I come back, I was a bit rusty, and then obviously once I got in good enough shape, match fitness wise, I started producing on the pitch, and it went from there really. I had a good performance before the Fleetwood game at home. Can't remember who it was against, and I thought I played quite well, and then the Fleetwood game came from that. I scored a goal, and I grew in confidence from there. As any striker will tell you, as soon as you get a little bit of confidence, it's hard to stop them.
Yeah, that seemed to be the turning point in that season as well. The whole team seemed to click after that Fleetwood game. You had the Gillingham game, and then a couple of games after that, and you were scoring, and Felipe Moraes was.
Yeah, of course, he was on fire. The postman was on fire at the time. Big Gaz was holding everything up. Yeah. It was just a point where we were just steamrolling teams, and that's the reason why I joined, because I knew the capabilities of the squad. You have Wheat, Speed, Man Mountains at the back. That's in the Championship, let alone League One. Obviously Spiro was in centre mid, bullying people. Me and Gaz up front, who terrorised that league realistically. Do you know what I mean? And we'd give the Championship a good go, given 46 games. So that's one of the reasons I came back, because I knew realistically the chance of going straight back up was with Bolton. I had Bradford at the time, and just didn't want to go there. I just knew that it wasn't going to be Bradford who'd go up. Bear in mind, I might do well there, but I didn't want to do well there and stay in League One. I wanted to do well and get back in the Championship, because obviously that's where I thought I belonged.
And obviously your point was proven on the last day of the season against Peterborough. Big celebrations, you got to score. How was that scoring on that game, on such an important game like that?
Yeah, it's incredible, you know. I've been quite lucky really to impact quite a lot of big games in my career, you know. Did it at Reading, done it at Rotherham, done it at Rochdale, scored goals for Rochdale in big games, and you know, then again, you know, to put sort of the icing on the cake in the game was really nice, you know. Obviously, it's sort of like that set weeks up for us as well, and it was just, and Jem scored, so which made it probably a perfect day all round for us, you know. We were just buzzing, you know. I think we deserved the win, obviously, and for what we've done previously, and you know, we got the job done. That was all we wanted, and you know, what else can you say after that? That's what we wanted.
So we go back into the Championship, and you score in the opening day against Leeds, but then for the next few months, you know, the formation changed and you were in and out of the side. How did you keep your morale up during that time?
I think it's very hard. I think anyone who knows me and knows myself, I love playing football, and I think Gaffer wouldn't mind me saying this. I love playing football. He knows that. I know that. I want to play week in, week out, regardless. I think I've said it in all my interviews I've done in the past times. If I'm not playing, obviously I'm unhappy. I think that's what you want. Obviously, you can't let that affect the squad. But if I feel I can help the team, then definitely I want to play. You know, I think my record in the Championship, Premiership speaks for itself, and I think people know when I play games I score goals. And it was quite hard, really. You know, my training level never dipped. I think as a player and as a professional, I never dropped below the levels, and I think that's what got me through it. Because obviously there's a good group of us who weren't playing at the time for 3 or 4 months, and we've got a really good dressing room there that kept everything together and kept all of us, you know, in check, sort of thing. And I think we marshalled that really well, and I think as a group we just got together so well that it was hard to have stragglers. We couldn't afford to have them either. You know, that's why we succeeded.
So then, on the last day of the transfer window, Gary Medine was sold to Cardiff for £6 million, and unfortunately we couldn't get a replacement in him. But that seemed to be a blessing in disguise for both the club and yourself, because you got more game time and you started scoring, and then we ended up staying up.
Oh yeah, I spoke to the gaffer a couple of days before that, and I was like, look, if I'm not going to play, I want to go. And he was like, right, let's just see what happens, sort of thing. Obviously knowing that realistically I probably weren't his first choice striker, which is, you know, that's just the way we played and how it fit really. Obviously we've got big guys going and no one coming in. I think I proved to everyone, you know. I think when I played regularly I scored goals, you know, towards the end of the season I got, 5 or 6 in 12, and you know what I mean, I think I helped towards keeping us up in the running, as well as obviously the last day when obviously I impacted with coming off the bench. But obviously it's frustrating, but it's an amazing achievement for us as a club, squad, team, everyone involved, pulling together in the right direction with, you know, no negative attitudes towards anything other than getting the job done, and I think that's what we were brilliant at.
Obviously you wouldn't have wanted to do it in the manner you did, the Forest game, but it must have been so brilliant just to be part of that and just to play such a big role. Obviously you scored and you set the other 2 up, so how was that and the whole occasion on that day?
It was actually a weird day really, because obviously the day before I found out I weren't playing, and the day of the game I was in a bit of a lull, because obviously I was so disappointed not to be playing. But I think as a footballer you have to bounce back really quick, and I knew that if I sat there and sulked, then that was going to be no good to anyone. So, you know, that's my job. I'm a footballer. You got the gaffer's job to pick the team, to win the game, and you know he did that. And we did that ultimately. You know, and even that game was probably the biggest omen was my mum. I never let my mum come to football games, and I said for her birthday I got the box at the club and said, oh, you can come the game and watch. So when I scored, I ran over to the box side. She was crying. All of my family were up there running, jumping up and down and stuff. It was just an amazing occasion to share with like my family and everyone, even like obviously the fans and that, you know. They're running on the pitch after to show how much it means to us all, you know. I think afterwards we was just sat in the change room and it's like, wow,
yeah,
literally what have we just achieved, you know. It's such a weird feeling, because should we be celebrating that? Because obviously it's a disappointing season, but it was such an amazing achievement after the start we had. Everyone written us off, you know, going to Bolton, getting pumped, and then just having it all hinging on that last day. and doing it in the last minute, it was like, wow, literally like everything's just been turned upside down. You know, you think we go down, the club gets whatever, you know what I mean? You just don't know what happens. The financial implications are massive on the club. So it was crazy, you know. I think I was just sat there in the changing room afterwards, just thinking like, what have we just done? Like, me and Gemma just sat there like, let's not do this again. Like, it's just not good for you. It's just literally, it was just a crazy atmosphere, a crazy feeling too.
So obviously that was a really special day in the way you did that, and then you go into the next season in pre-season. There's a big overhaul of the squad. You could say there was maybe an improvement in the quality, and obviously we signed Josh McGuinness later on in the window. But how did you find pre-season and
really
getting
good.
the new players coming in?
Yeah, really good. You know, I think obviously the gaffer recruited well because all the boys fitted into the squad well. I like to think I was a big part of the dressing room, and I think, you know, the boys were brilliant. It was tough for me to leave the boys. You know, spent, you know what I mean, getting promoted with them and then staying up in the manner we did. We shared like an incredible bond, and you know, it's hard to forget them sort of like times you have as a footballer. And to get players who fit in with that group is a very hard thing, but they recruited really well, and the boys seem really receptive to everyone. So it is a really good dressing room, and obviously they have improved the players because you could tell that in training, and even in the way we played in the friendlies.
So how hard is it when you get an offer in another country, in another league, to leave a place where you're respected among your peers, you get on really well with the manager and the coaches, and the fans adore you? How hard is that to leave and to go into this new adventure to Sydney?
Yeah, of course it's hard because it's, you know what I mean, I'm not moving an hour away, I'm moving 24 hours away. To uproot my whole family. I was just ready for something new. You know, being honest, I think I'd proven all I needed to prove in England. I'd come to a point where was I going to play regularly next season? Possibly not. Didn't really want to gamble. Didn't want another 3 months to be sitting there thinking I'm not going to play. I wanted to go and, you know, not so much enjoy. I want to go and impact somewhere else. I've always wanted to play abroad. I saw this as an amazing adventure. You know, why not join the biggest team in Australia who win more or less everything and go and try and win some trophies? You know, this is probably the last chance I'll get of winning serious silverware, playing the Asian Champs League. You know, I had to be selfish. I think ultimately that's what I put it down to. I had to be selfish. Obviously, it's not nice to say as a footballer, but I had to look after myself really and think, you know what, this is going to be amazing for me, amazing for my family. Well, my kids are going to have such a brilliant time out here, then how can I deny them that as well?
So were there any other offers apart from Sydney? Were there any other countries or teams that
there was a few countries, but they were not really serious enough for me to move my head. Obviously there was Turkey, there's some offers from like Cyprus and stuff like that, but it wasn't something that I thought, wow, I can't uproot and go for that, you know, that sort of thing. I had a couple, let's say, sort of clubs ask if I'd be interested in Australia at the start of probably the middle of pre-season, and then that's really got me thinking. You know, I spoke to my wife and would be interested, and she was like, if you want to go, obviously it's all down to me, and if I want to come out here, play football out here, and you know, and I said, yeah, I'm interested in that. If we can get everything right, then yeah, definitely. And you know, then Sydney came in 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and it was like, I don't think I can turn this down sort of thing. And it was done, you know what I mean? It was one of them where like we come to a point where it was literally like, right, let's get it done. And it was as simple as that really, you know. And then I was gone, you know. Obviously the Leeds game, I was meant to play the Leeds game,
yeah.
And then the day after that I was on a flight over to their signing, so it was a bit of a whirlwind really.
So obviously, yeah, you mentioned the Leeds game there, and Connor Hall stepped in your place. Did you see much in training that makes you think he could make a career in the Championship?
I think obviously there's a lot there for Connor. He scores a lot of goals. You can't deny that. He's got a lot of raw pace and a lot of raw attributes that will do him good. You know, he's got a brilliant attitude, wants to learn. I think it's just going to take him time. I think it's obviously hard. He's coming from scoring 22, 23 goals in an under 23 league. He needs to go out and play week in, week out in the league, which he tried to go and done now at Aki. I probably would have maybe gone to somewhere where he's going to play week in, week out. But fair play to him. I think realistically that he has to do that to get himself in the Championship playing. He has to go and play football. Under 23 football for me is garbage. I think it's good to a point, but if you're a good young player looking to play football in the first team, you need to go and prove it somewhere else if you're not going to get put in the first team you're in at the minute.
Also, there's another new striker at Wanderers this season, Christian Deutsch, who you could say was your replacement. He's a player who's come from League Two up into the Championship, similar to yourself when you was at Rotherham up to Reading. Is there anything that you noticed jumping up the two divisions that you could maybe offer in words of advice?
I did find it quite tougher, you know. I think physically, you find you struggle physically early on, just to get used to the tempo, just the quickness of the Championship. But obviously the quality as well, you know. But once you sort of find your feet in, and then you're flying. Like I found it with Reading that once I say it took me about 3 or 4 games, just got used to the way they train, way they prepare. It's obviously no disrespect to League Two, it was a little bit different then to now. It was hard, you know. There was so much more preparation, and obviously there's the standard, the setup was better, so there was more things available for you to analyse and to improve as a player. So, you know, obviously he's got a great goal scoring record, and I hope he does really well there.
So now let's move on to Sydney this season. There's a bit of a new regime in at Sydney. Obviously there's the new coach and yourself, and also the new marquee player, Sam de Jong. So what are your aspirations for this season?
To win it all.
Yeah.
Literally. Sydney is the club that wins everything. We want to do that. You know, I want to carry on that. Obviously the grand final last year they didn't get to it because they got knocked out. I think it was Melbourne who knocked them out last year. So I want to win it all. You know, I want to win this cup. I want to win the league. I want to win the grand final, and I want to win the Asian Champions League. While I'm here, you know, why not? Don't set the bar low. But aim for high, and if we fall short of that, then we'll go again next season. You know, just don't want to limit ourselves.
So you've obviously now kind of had 2 pre-seasons. You must just be raring to go next Friday against Adelaide.
Yeah, of course. You know, I'm sick of scoring these goals that don't count. You know, I've scored 6 now already, and 4 of them don't count. So. Yeah, I just can't wait for next week.
Also, there's you were a United fan growing up. It must be nice to follow in the footsteps of Dwight York, who's obviously, you know, a Sydney FC legend, and players like Del Piero and other players like that. So it must be nice to try and write your own legacy at a club.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you know, that's one of the reasons I came out, is because, you know, maybe next year, this season after, I could have come out here. You know, maybe the end of my Bolton contract, I could have come out here, but I wanted to go and impact the league. I thought it was good enough to play in the Championship, so I think I'm good enough to play out here and impact the league. And you know, I think if given chances, I'll score goals, and you know, that's what I want to do. I want to come out here and break records, win things. So why not?
If it's all right with you, just going to end it now with a couple of Twitter questions.
Yeah, sure.
Get these up. First is from @DaveC. Would you rather play around the golf with Tiger Woods or win the FA Cup?
That's not fair, that. Depends where the round of Tiger Woods is at.
And there many good courses out here?
Yeah, I've already checked, don't worry about that. Cup final, of course, I want to win some silverware. Football's first.
Okay. Next one is from Skelly @WavyC. Is Olkowski as good as he seems in training, or who is the best player at Bolton in your opinion?
Yeah, Poe's good. He's a good player. You know, he's fitted in really well, and really well with the boys as well. Best player at Bolton. Natural ability, Sammy, obviously. But Wheats is up there, and Bells as well, you know. For consistency, Bells. Wheats just gets his big bald head in front of everything, especially in training. I bet he's glad I've gone, because I was tearing him inside and out, but he's always got his big gangly legs and his big bald head everywhere, so I'm glad I'm away from him.
Next one is from Weavers 101. How does playing in another country compare to playing in England? Obviously,
it's a lot warmer.
Yeah.
You know, the standard's actually a lot better than what I thought it was out here. Probably the comparisons are the tempo isn't as high as obviously the Championship. We're probably a little bit more possession-based teams. a lot more playing out from the back. You know, and maybe not so much like direct football from both sides of the teams. You know, we're a really good passing team, and we try to dominate the game, which is brilliant. You know, and I can impact it that way.
I've got a question here from, I think he's Swedish, at Panic Prone. Why sausage rolls?
Rhymes with goals.
Yeah, funny rhyming slang.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't translate. We've got another one here from Molly Parker. Would he consider coming back to play in England, or does he want to retire and stay living in Australia?
Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Let's just see what happens. You know, I'd rather just let's see where football takes me. You never know where you're going to go on a football adventure. And, you know, it's took me here so far.
Got one here from your friend Wesley BDUFC again. Ask him how much does he miss me every day?
Not that much, but I know he's thinking of me.
How did that start?
I think I replied. I shouldn't have replied. Definitely shouldn't have replied. And I think he's on the stalking season now.
I think a lot of fans enjoyed you dragging out his shirt for a while anyway.
You know what? I actually meant to send it straight away, but then I realised I didn't have any more shirts from that day. So I was thinking, I can't break his heart and think like he can't have a Forest shirt. And I was thinking, how could I not keep the Forest shirt? But then I thought, why not? I'll just give it him, sort of thing. It'd be nice. But he obviously didn't see it that way. But, you know, it's one of them.
Brilliant. Right, got one final here from OB Yates. Who does he miss most in the Bolton dressing room?
Jem. Now, if it's not Jem, when obviously in the pre-season, it would have been Wheats and Bells. I spoke to them more or less every day. We had a little coffee club now. I recruited them in. And, you know, they're brilliant. They were top guys in the dressing room, you know, with obviously the Geordie boys, Talesy and Anik, and then obviously you've got Beans as well, who's a big part of the squad. They're top guys, and he'll probably start crying if I didn't mention him, but Brillo had Yannick as well. He's a good lad.
Right, just going to end it now, just to talk a little bit about Stephen Darby. Obviously, it came out recently that he'd been diagnosed with motor neuron disease. Perhaps he didn't get to show his best ability at Bolton during his time playing, but what kind of impact did he have in the dressing room? Because it seems...
Yeah, of course. It's heartbreaking, you know. I think everyone said it when I've seen all the messages on Twitter and stuff like it. When I seen it, it was sort of stopped me in my track anyway. It just makes you think, you know, bloody hell, such a nice guy, you know. He was one of them players who just wanted everyone to do well all the time, never thought about himself or thought about everyone else, and, you know, for something like this to happen to him, to such a nice person, it's horrible, you know. And you know, I think we're all thinking of him and hoping like he does well through it.
Yeah, hoping he gets the best out of life.
Yes,
anyway.
definitely.
So if this big charity friendly that's supposed to be happening at the end of the season happens between Liverpool, Bradford and Bolton, will you come back to play?
Depending on the date, yeah. If they want me to come back, then yeah, of course. I think for Darbs, you just got to, do you know what I mean? Such a nice guy. I'd be stupid not to, and, you know, be foolish not to.
I'm sure a lot of fans will be happy with that. Well, thank you very much, Adam, for appearing on the podcast.
No worries, thank you.
Right. So this has been the special edition of the Vienna Sweet podcast with Adam Le Fondre. We'll be back soon due to technical issues, but thank you for listening.